He only wanted a little water. I was in a hurry, arrogant, judgmental. I had no idea that the ragged man sitting at the gate of my company would become the key to one of the greatest deals of my life. Based on a true story. It was just another ordinary day at the logistics yard. The sun scorched the asphalt as heavy trucks maneuvered through the narrow entrance. The rush consumed everyone. Amid that harsh routine, the company owner, Jerome, watched every movement closely. A 53-year-old black man with a firm presence, Jerome carried the burden of a nearly bankrupt company and the responsibility of dozens of families who depended on him. With the business in crisis, there was no room for distractions. The priority was to unload, organize, invoice, and survive. He had already lost so much: time, money, countless nights of sleep, but never control, or at least he tried not to, until a worker approached, saying there was someone at the gate again. A man, poorly dressed, the same one. Jerome already knew who it was, a homeless man who occasionally showed up asking for water. He lived under the bridge near the highway exit. Always polite, always silent. He never asked for anything more than a bit of water. Even though the outdoor faucet was just a few steps inside the yard, he never crossed the threshold. He always waited patiently for a worker to come and fill his jug. But that morning, Jerome's patience had worn thin. His arrogance spoke louder. Irritated, he told the worker that the man could just walk in and get water himself, that there was no need to interrupt anyone's work for that. A small remark, but laced with impatience and a touch of superiority. The man at the gate remained still, not crossing the property line. He simply waited. Minutes passed. The image of that man, standing silently in the sun, began to bother Jerome more than he expected. Something inside stirred. With hesitation, he walked out toward him. He expected to find someone disheveled or confused, but what he found instead was a man with calm posture and a steady voice. Jerome told him he could always come in to get water. There was no need to ask anyone. The man nodded politely and smiled, but then he declined. "I appreciate it, sir, but I'm not fit to enter your company. I'm dirty, and I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable." That hit hard. A man, exhausted, worn, dressed in rags, refusing to come in out of sheer respect. His words were well spoken, his manner almost noble. Despite the way he looked, he had dignity, and in that moment, Jerome felt ashamed for judging too quickly, for being cold when he could have been kind. He didn't say a word, just took the man's small plastic jug, walked to the faucet, filled it, and returned in silence. The man gave a sincere thank you and smiled again. "I don't mean to bother. I understand how busy you are." Jerome said nothing. He simply looked at the man for a moment, then turned back to work. That same day, Jerome gave a new instruction to his team. "Next time that man shows up at the gate, call me. I want to be the one to bring him water." He didn't fully understand why, but he felt the urge to know more. There was something about that man. In the days that followed, the man returned, always around the same time, always asking only for water, always respectful, and Jerome kept his word. He brought the water himself. With each interaction, a bridge formed. Slowly, naturally, the two began to talk. At first, it was small talk. Then it became deeper, about life, choices, regrets. The man's name was Andrew Carter, and he spoke like someone educated, articulate, reflective. He shared that he was 40 years old and had once been an engineer at a large mining company. He had lived a comfortable life until heartbreak shattered his world. After a painful breakup, he walked away from everything and never went back. Not because he didn't have options, but because he felt lost, empty, unworthy of starting over. Jerome was stunned. A man so intelligent and insightful, now sleeping under a bridge and unsure if he'd eat that day. It was as if the world had forgotten Andrew, or maybe Andrew had forgotten himself. Yet he spoke with hope, with calm, with a kind of wisdom you don't find in books. Their talks became part of Jerome's routine, and not just casual chats, real lessons. Every phrase from Andrew seemed to carry meaning, a new way of seeing things. No lecture at business school had ever hit so deep. Unknowingly, the man Jerome once dismissed had become his mentor. One day, Jerome asked about his parents. Andrew said his mother was still alive, but he wasn't sure if she still loved him. He thought she might believe he was dead, that she had probably stopped hoping he'd return. Jerome asked him if he still loved her. Andrew's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, I do." Jerome leaned forward, voice low but firm. "Then go back. I promise you, she's waiting for you." That night, Jerome couldn't sleep. He kept picturing Andrew's mother, sitting in a small house, staring out a window, waiting for a son who never returned. He thought about his own choices, how often he ignored his heart in favor of cold logic, and how this stranger's pain had cracked something open in him. The visits continued for a few more weeks, until one morning Andrew appeared transformed, shaved, clean, wearing a fresh shirt and a backpack. He looked like a different man, but his gaze remained calm and steady. He said he had come to say goodbye. He was heading back to his hometown, back to his mother, that this was his chance to restart. Everything was arranged. He just needed one thing before he left: a hug and a thank you. Jerome was speechless. He embraced Andrew like a brother. That hug carried gratitude, forgiveness, and something more: mutual respect. Andrew promised to send word someday, but he never returned, and life at the yard went on, without the man at the gate. Years passed. Jerome's company slowly improved. Contracts started flowing in. Debts were being paid. Then came an opportunity that could change everything. A fleet of used trucks from a mining company had gone up for sale. The price was unbeatable, but there was a catch. Full payment was required up front. Jerome didn't have the money. He tried negotiating, offered to pay in installments. The offer was declined. He tried again, rejected once more. It was slipping through his fingers. Determined, Jerome traveled to the mining company's headquarters. He presented his proposal in person, explained his situation, argued his case. The manager was firm. No payment plan, no exceptions. But just as Jerome was about to leave defeated, another employee entered the room and whispered something in the manager's ear. The manager paused, looked again at Jerome, asked calmly, "What's the name of your company?" "Carter Haul and Recovery," Jerome replied. The manager smiled faintly. "You can take the trucks. Your proposal has been approved." Jerome was stunned. A moment ago, it was a dead end. Now, suddenly, the doors had opened. He signed the paperwork, still confused, and returned to his company with the trucks. That deal marked the turning point. His business took off, but something kept nagging at him. That sudden shift, it didn't feel random. A few days later, Jerome decided to investigate, and what he found left him speechless. One of the directors at the mining company was named Andrew Carter, the same man, the man from the gate, the man who once refused to step into his yard because he didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. Now, quietly, he had approved a deal that saved Jerome's company. There was no press, no credit, no applause, just a silent gesture, a powerful return, an act of faith that changed everything. Years later, when Jerome tells this story, he always says, "I didn't give water to a homeless man. I gave attention to a human being. He never expected gratitude, but he received a gift beyond measure, one he didn't even know he had planted, and above all, he learned. Real help doesn't come from pity. It comes from empathy, from humility, from seeing beyond the surface. Sometimes, under ragged clothes, lies a heart full of wisdom. He stopped expecting anything from anyone. He learned that kindness should be offered without strings. Gratitude is never owed, but sometimes it finds its way back. And when it does, it changes everything. Andrew taught Jerome more than any business book ever could. He proved that life is circular, and when you plant with your heart, the harvest comes from the most unexpected places. In the end, the greatest deal of Jerome's life wasn't signed on letterhead. It was sealed years ago with a jug of water at the gate of a small company. If this story touched your heart, like the video and share it with someone who believes in the power of kindness and hope. And of course, subscribe to Tale Weaver Studio, where every week you'll find stories that warm the soul and make the world feel like a better place. Until next time.